Welcome to Simcofish Wargaming. This is our first installment in a series of war games using Chain of Command, and we're going to start at the very beginning of World War II, 1939 Poland, where the Germans assaulted Poland in September of 1939. This battle is representative of the Battle of Jordanow, which occurred at the border of Poland and Czechoslovakia between the elements of the 10th Mechanized Brigade, Polish 10th Mechanized Brigade, or commonly called the Black Brigade, and the 2nd Panzer Division of Army Group South. The engagement is a platoon of German Wehrmacht attacking this small hamlet and being defended by a platoon of Polish mechanized troops. We'll go through the organization of the troops in just a moment, but what I want you to understand or see that this represents about 4 square football fields of real gaming area or land mass. The jump off, this is the direction that the Germans are going to be coming from, and they have 3 jump off points, and the jump off points are here, here, and right over here in the woods. Now, let's go to the other side and see where the Polish jump-off points are. We have one here, here, and in this hill right here. Now, the objective of the Germans is to get any unit off this road, down this road, off this edge right over here. Now the Poles have a little roadblock right there. So let's go through the terrain. Here is an orchard, of course, which is considered light cover. Both buildings, both the barn and the house, are considered heavy cover, and that's the only heavy cover on the board. The fences are all light cover. All light cover. The hill, the entire hill, is, if anything's on it, is considered in light cover. The woods are also light cover. The hayfield, both of them are light cover. Now, when fire goes through more than 3 fences or linear obstacles, so this would be 1, and if the troops are here, that would be 1. That's another linear obstacle. That's another one. That's 3 right there, and that's 4, and that's 5 over there. That becomes any unit behind 3 light linear obstacles for light cover become hard cover. Now, when you're at 4 linear obstacles, the unit becomes basically invisible to fire, hidden, so to speak. And there we have it. So now let's talk about the troops, and let's look at their organization. The Polish force is a 10th Mechanized platoon, which is made up of 4 squads or sections. The Poles did not have the concept of teams, so each squad is a complete section unto itself. They're made up of 5 rifles and 1 individual with a BAR. The officer is in a black overcoat, which gives the name the Black Brigade. It has 2 senior leaders, a sergeant and a lieutenant. It has an anti-tank rifle attached, as well as a light mortar. And for this game, they have a Bofors anti-tank gun. Let's look at the Germans. The Germans have 3 squads, which are made up of 2 teams each. Each team is 8 riflemen and a light machine gun team, which actually has 4 men, and it is represented by this one stand over there. And that black die will represent 4 pips as opposed to 3. The Germans at this stage in 1939 had 2 senior leaders, and they're also going to have a light mortar attached, as well as a PZ2 and a PZ1. Now, in this game, I've decided to make things a little more interesting and give each officer a personality. So each junior leader has their own personality, and each senior leader has their own personality. And they add things to the game. In other words, they'll either add an extra combat dice or an extra pip on movement, or even reduce combat dice or reduce pip for movement. It all depends on their quality, and that's what are in these cards right here. Now I rolled for the chain of command, force morale, and the Germans have a 9, and the Poles have an 11. Now there's a couple things here. One, the Poles historically never lost a battle in 39, but they were always forced out of position due to strategic situations. This is how we're going to reflect that. The Poles are going to be considered superior or elite troops. The Germans are considered regular troops. Now the Germans can collect chain of command dice up to 4, which will automatically win the game for them if they choose to do so, if the situation can allow them to hold on to 4 chain of command dice. Now the other thing I've done is I've added extra command dice that can be rolled. Each side will get 5 extra command dice to be used whenever they wish. And I think that just does about it. So there you go. Let's get started. And the Poles go first, so they're going to roll the first set of chain of command die. So the Poles rolled 3 4s, a 5, and a 6. Now the 6 they can't use. The 5 will give them a pip on the chain of command dice, and the 3 4s are senior leaders. The Poles decide not to put anyone out at this time. The Germans rolled in their phase a good roll. They rolled a senior leader, 2 junior leaders, and 2 6s, which give them another turn or another phase. So let us figure out what they're going to do. So the Germans are looking at capitalizing on the fact that they get another phase. So they're going to put a senior leader as well as a junior leader squad right at this jump off point right here. And then they're also going to put a tank right here. They're going to use a 3 for the junior leader and the tank right there. So let's go ahead and do that and see what we get. So here we have a PZ1 squad and senior leader. So the Germans put a PZ1 and this squad right here and a senior leader. So let's give you the names of the individuals. Now, the junior leader of this squad, this junior leader, his name is Joseph Fisher. He is a generous individual. He's also very bold, and he gets to add a combat dice to his squad when they fight, either hand-to-hand or shooting. The senior leader name is Carl Jung, right here. And Carl Jung is actually meek, and he's a bit reckless, but he does add a +1 to combat dice when he's activated and when he activates the squad. Then we have the PZ1. The PZ1 junior leader is Abelan Mueller, who happens to be cocky, so his movement can be pretty quick. He's also bold. He ignores any kind of shock, but his shooting is not so good. He subtracts a die from any kind of combat. So there we have it. Now, normally, or not normally, but these troops cannot move because their movement was deployment. They could shoot at something, but there's no poles on the table to shoot at. So now they get to roll their second phase of command dice, and we'll see what they get. So the Germans rolled 3 3s, a 1, and a 5. A 5 will give them a pip for chain of command die, which they can always use. Then they have to decide what to do with these 2 3s and the 4, and the 3 and a 1. So what they're going to do is combine the 3 and the 1 and become a 4 so they can activate the senior leader. So let's go ahead and do that and see what happens. So here's the result of the German second phase. This platoon advanced. We have this platoon deploying, and then the tank, because Mueller is very aggressive. He moved 16 inches up to this point because the Germans have to get down there. Now, they didn't roll 2 6s or 3 6s, so now we get the Poles to roll their die and see what happens. So the Poles rolled a 4, 2 3s, a 2, and a 5. The 5 will increase the chain of command die by 1 pip. And now we're going to see what the Poles are going to do. So with their numbers, the Poles put out 2 platoons, one with a 3 and one with a 2, a senior leader, and then their anti-tank gun to take a shot at the PZ-1. Now, the infantry caused some casualties and some shock on those 2 squads. The anti-tank gun hit, but caused no damage. So now we're off to the German command phase rolling of their command dice. So the Germans roll 2 4s, a 2, 1, and a 5. So the 5 will be a chain of command pip. A 4 will be a senior leader, which they can activate, which they're going to have to. Now the 2 and the 1, they have to do something. They're going to combine them to actually activate the tank. So let's go ahead and do that. So let's look at the damage of the Germans. No kills, although shock on one of the platoons, one of the squads, Polish squads. So now let's go ahead and do the Polish command phase.